Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are always appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure that you like, make sure you subscribe. Shout out to all the people that always join me on Facebook. Shout out to all the people that join me on Twitter. And shout out to those people that are going to join me on Instagram today. Happy New Year, first of all. Let me be the first and last, hopefully, to wish you Happy New Year. I think that January 2nd is the last day you should be wishing people Happy New Year. If you didn't get a chance to see them and you're seeing them for the first time a few days out, listen, they know it. It's cool. We're going to move on. I'm happy to be in a new year, but not because I have any other sweeping declarations or things that I want to see done this year that I didn't see done last year. Everybody has their goals. And to me, those goals don't change just because the calendar changes. I have places I want to go. I am going to continue to strive to get to those places. I look forward to seeing all of you out there strive to get towards those places. But I really want to say thank you to all the people who subscribe, to all the people who follow, who listen, wherever it is you might be listening. Somebody was telling me, I think it was a troll or something in the comments, oh man, you only get a few people listening or watching this. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably only looking at one platform. And it is the beautiful thing about social media and media in general, right? Is that we can tell our stories in a bunch of different places so it can be consumed when you want to consume it. And I've always appreciated that ability to be able to allow you to consume it whenever it is you want to consume it. Allow me to say this one thing, though. It's okay to be okay. Right? It's okay to be okay. I think that what we found in today's society is people being ultra aware of mental health, of physical health, of social health. And within there, people have began to, and I don't even know if they're doing it on purpose, right? People have begun to shame or make people feel bad if they don't have anything to complain about or anything to not be okay about. I just want to remind you all that the goal is to be okay, right? The goal is to be, when someone says, how are you? And you tell them okay, you can really mean it. Now, does okay mean I am the greatest I'm ever going to be? No, but here's what I believe that okay means. And you can leave a comment in the gram, leave a comment everywhere else. Let me know what you believe. To me, if I say that I'm okay, that means that I am handling, processing, and dealing with everything that's going on in my life. That means that I have an understanding of this. It doesn't mean that everything's perfect. It doesn't mean that things don't make me sad. It doesn't mean that I don't want to see certain things better. It means that I understand what's going on, and I might be complicit in the reason why things are not going the way that they're going, that they need to go, or why things are not going the way they should go. And so because I understand it, because I know it, and because it might be partly my fault, I'm okay with it. I'm down with it. You know why? Because I'm going to make that adjustment. I'm going to fix that problem. I'm going to make sure that I'm good, right? It's okay to be okay. If you have something going on with you in your life and you're not okay, by all means, live that truth, say it. You don't want to keep that stuff bottled up. But if I tell you I'm okay, or if someone tells you they're okay, It might just be that, right? We may just be able to just say, oh, we're okay. And I think that we can't get lost on the fact that it's okay to be okay. That we should be comfortable in the okay. Because okay means that we have knowledge of why things are the way they are, and we can make various strides to try to fix those. Now, for all of you that didn't come for a a boost up or morale. If you don't know people on Instagram, maybe not. We talk sports over here. It was a great college football playoff, right? The semifinals were fantastic. The semifinals were what you want, right? They were what you want. Competitive teams going back and forth. Here's what I took away from that. Number one, TCU got really lucky. There's no other way around it, right? I know a lot of people are going to sit out here and say, oh, TCU proved all the doubters wrong. They weren't even ranked, blah, 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 blah. TCU had to have every single thing go right for them. And on top of it, they had to actually just get people to say something that wasn't true. Everybody, everyone in their mama knows, everybody in their mama knows that Alabama is better than TCU. Alabama is not Michigan, ladies and gentlemen. Alabama is not Michigan. Alabama's better than TCU. But because Alabama lost 2 games and TCU lost 1 game in a trash Big 12 to a team that Alabama boat raced, they got a chance to play. If Alabama jumps in there, we're probably looking at a Georgia-Alabama final. Now, with that being said, that's not TCU's fault. I don't blame TCU for that. They got the opportunity. They took advantage of the opportunity, and now they're playing for a national championship. I'm just here to wonder whether or not that opportunity was given to them because somebody wanted a different narrative, right? If we put Alabama in, we know how this is going to end. Alabama and Georgia in the championship again. But if we put in TCU, now whether TCU wins or Michigan wins, we've got new blood in the final. If we're really being honest about it, right? TCU should not have played Michigan. Ohio State should have played Michigan in the semifinal. If anything, TCU should have been the number 4 seed. Why? Because they played in the worst conference against the worst competition, and they looked the least impressive. That's simple, right? That's simple. Yeah, Ohio State got beat by Michigan, but Ohio State had every single thing go wrong. They lost to Michigan. That was their only loss of the season. Ohio State lost their last game. TCU lost their last game. You're telling me that because TCU lost their game close, that they deserve to be there more? That's not how it works. So, I'm not blaming TCU. This is not an indictment on TCU. TCU played the schedule that was in front of them, won those games, and then they were afforded the opportunity to play in the playoffs, and they took advantage of it. So it's applause to TCU for that, right? There's no shame, there's no hate on TCU for that. Also, you guys should probably be ready for this. TCU might get blown out next week. They may not, right? They may not. It might be close. It might be a competition. So here's why I say that. Because Georgia got pushed to the limit by Ohio State. Ohio State, who plays a similar brand of football to TCU. And by similar brand, I mean they throw the ball all over the yard. They have an offense that's wide open, right? TCU might run the ball better than Ohio State. They might. I don't really know. They have a tougher quarterback, but they don't have as good a skilled quarterback. CJ Stroud is one of the two best quarterbacks in college football. Max Duggan is one of the most courageous quarterbacks in college football, but he's not one of the two best. You could argue that you could argue that they have the best wide receiver in college, but you could also argue that if they have the best wide receiver, then Ohio State probably has the number 2, 3, and possibly 4. So Georgia has now seen the firepower and the speed and the athleticism at those positions that they're going to see in the championship. That's going to help them. Now, what we did see is that TCU had trouble stopping, once they got going, a Michigan team that's not like dynamic on offense. They're not a dynamic offensive team. They run the ball at you, they take timely shots, and they're not dynamic. Georgia, when they want to be, has an ability to be dynamic. I think that's a bad matchup for TCU. I'm going to go on record right now. Give me Georgia. Give me Georgia. I'll give the points. If it stays under 7, for sure. If it goes over 7, I might reevaluate. But if it stays under 7, I'll take it. But also, all of you people out there that were clamoring for 18 playoffs and 12-team and 16-team playoffs, get ready for blowouts in the playoffs. And I don't want to hear one of you complain about it. I don't want to hear any whining. I don't want to hear any complaining about, oh, well, this isn't right. Well, these teams don't deserve to be here. Why do we have to watch these terrible games? I don't want to hear any complaints, because with 4, you're at least getting what you feel are the 4 best teams in the nation, right? Adding a 5th or a 6th might be okay. You might get compelling matchups. But when you start adding a 7th and an 8th and a 9th and a 10th and 11th and a 12th, I want you to ask yourself what these teams are going to look like. I want you to ask yourself what these teams look like when it's all said and done. Because I can promise you that those first-round games, there's a real good chance they're not going to be competitive. There's a better than likely chance that those first-round games will not be anything to call home to mom about. They'll probably be blowouts. And people will be sitting there going, well, that team should not have made it. The other team should stop it. There's usually, in college football, there's usually 2 dominant teams, 2 other teams that on any given day can be dominant, 4 teams that on the right day can beat those teams, right? Could possibly beat those teams, could possibly beat those 2 teams, and then a bunch of other dudes that are a bunch of other teams that are just really good. Like, they're good, but they're not beating those top 2 teams unless everything falls apart. Unless everything falls apart. And we have to be ready for that, because if we're not, you're going to hear a bunch of people complaining, you're going to see a bunch of people whining, and you're going to be like, oh, I wish it was like it was before. See, I'm all for progress, but I'm looking forward. I don't want to look back. So once we move away from the 4, you're never going to hear me talk about the 4 again. You're going to hear me talk about being more open in the selection process. You're going to talk about me. You're going to hear me talk about being more transparent in the selection process. Because right now, I think the problem that we have with the college football playoff is that because it's privately run, because this committee is covert behind the scenes, I really don't trust them. And why should I? Everything that the NCAA does is for money, and everything that the entities that make money off NCAA sports, all they care about is the bread. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how these things work out. A great week of NFL games. And it's interesting, right? Because this morning, and I left this to the middle for a reason, because I was feeling a little bit of a way about it. I woke up this morning, got ready for work, packed all my stuff, got in the car, drove to work, only to realize there was no work today. Yeah, for some reason, I was looking at the 2022 calendar, which says Monday, I have a teacher work day. But on the 2023 calendar, Monday's off. So, yeah, drove to work, got there, looked around in the parking lot. Nobody was there. And I went, did we have work today? Like, did I miss something? I don't know. You know what I missed when I looked around the NFL? Man, do I miss those quarterbacks that really make a difference. Jalen Hurts not being in Philadelphia is tragic for Philadelphia. Lamar Jackson not being with Baltimore is tragic for Baltimore. Remember when people were trying to tell us that Tyler Huntley was just as good as Lamar Jackson? In New Orleans, they decided after a couple of games, right? After a couple of games and a major injury, and trying to play through that injury, that they were not going to start Jameis Winston. They were going to go with Andy Dalton. They made this move early in the year. They said they were going with Dalton because Dalton was healthy. Then when Winston was healthy enough to play, they said that they were going to stick with Dalton because Dalton gave them the best opportunity to win, and they haven't won. And all of their wins, none of them have been impressive. None of them have looked like the team that Sean Payton had, even though it's the same team, and some would argue with some added pieces that didn't really play that much. They sat Winston down and essentially sabotaged the season. Now, why? Why did they do that? Did they just say that this year was a great opportunity for a reset? Why would you waste a 20-something-year-old quarterback in his prime who's been in the system for multiple years to put Andy Dalton in? And before people tell me, well, the coaches know something, like, so if he's not playing, then that says a lot about him. Give it a rest. We know about Dennis Allen. He's a horrible head coach. That's what we know about him. So a horrible record as a head coach. So I can't put any stock into the decision making of a guy who's only ever been successful when other people were making the decisions. Sorry. They sabotage. Russell Wilson has been a letdown this year, right? Deshaun Watson, lots of rust on those tires as he tries to come back from not playing for almost 2 full seasons. That's a lot. I think that what we're seeing is Not only does it matter to have elite level quarterback play, but it also matters to have the support and the love and the good vibes of the community that follows you. Right? So I see these communities out here booing and talking negatively about their own team. And I just wonder, like me to you, how do you think that helps them? You think hearing you complain and whine and bitch about the things that they get wrong when they're trying their best, about them not making a play when they're trying their best, you think that motivates them to be better? You think that motivates them to be better? Or do you think that that just makes them not want to be on your team? See, I follow the Giants a lot, and the Giants are interesting. The Giants fans are an interesting bunch because they are supportive to who they want to be supportive of. They are diehard supporters if they want to support you. But if they don't want to support you, every single thing is negative. They see none of the positives. Every single thing is negative. The people, and by the way, this isn't like a blanket, because there are some of the fans who believe one way and other fans that believe a different way. And they believe it, and you're never going to turn them, you're never going to turn them off to the other side or turn them on to the other side. And so I think about that and I go, that doesn't help your fan. I mean, your fan base being negative doesn't help your players. If I'm a fan, it behooves me to continually uplift, right? To continually uplift the teams that I root for. Or just don't root for them. That's okay too. Hey, listen, we're on a break. I'm on a leave of absence from fandom from this team. That's okay as well. I think about media, right? And media takes on so many different layers now. But I think about these fanalists. That's what I call them. These fans that have become, media members in one way or another because they write for and or have a platform that. I think about these fanalists, and I think of the audacity, right, of watching a surgeon perform a surgery and critiquing how he holds the scalpel when you've never held a butter knife correctly. I question the audacity to watch a chef as they prepare a meal, and as she prepares that meal and cuts those vegetables, and the audacity it takes to question her on how she uses her knife techniques. Yet, those same people who would never want to be questioned in the job that they do will act as if they are an expert when it comes to football. They will act like they're an expert when it comes to playing the game, coaching the game, and evaluating the game. Yet, that's not what they do every single day. The audacity, right? When I criticize a coach, I'm being critical of a coach because I coach. I don't criticize the chef. Put the food in my face. My only criticism is going to be if I like it or if I don't. That's it. I'm not going to criticize the way you made it. Well, this shouldn't have been this, or this shouldn't have been. They shouldn't have held the knife that way. They should have allowed those vegetables to blanch a little bit. No. They're the expert there. When these finalists or these media members who are there to report on the game, but then decide to put their analyst hat on, when they don't understand what they're talking about, you immediately notice it, right? Because they never say anything positive. The only thing they ever do is they talk negatively. If the only time that you ever make a comment it's negative, then you don't know what you're talking about. You can't see the impressive positive stuff. You just know that it was a positive game, but you don't know how to quantify it. You don't know how to diagnose it, and so therefore you don't give it any credence. If you're always the person that only points out the negatives, you should reevaluate. And before you tell me that's your job, please understand that I know your job. I know it because I do it. And regardless of the platform that I do it on, or how many people I do it for, or whatever, I know your job. I'm really good at your job. Now, you might be better at search engine optimizing than I am, right? You might be better at putting the keywords in, or clickbait, or blah, 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 blah. But when it comes to understanding, I understand. So when I say, hey, listen, maybe some of y'all should pump the brakes on how you approach your criticism or your evaluation when you have zero experience, when you have zero intimate understanding or intimate knowledge, I really do mean it. Feel free to come for me. Oh, you're shaming us because we didn't play the game. No, I'm not. If you feel like you have as much skill at playing the game or coaching the game or evaluating the game, just show us. Do something other than point out the negatives of somebody or what you perceive to be the negative, or point the blame at somebody and show me where they did something right. Because they got to that level some type of way. These players didn't just Forrest Gump their way to the NFL. These coaches didn't just good old boy themselves to the NFL, especially the black ones. We know that much. If you know more and you believe that you're on their level, prove it. We should hear it when you talk. We should see it and read it when you write. If not, do us a favor and just enjoy the game like the rest of us. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. You do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. Like, subscribe. To all the Instagrammers out there, I promise I'm bringing more of this to Instagram this year. That is one of my goals. Till next time, peace.